Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, I have to admit, I do have a little bit of the cruise blues right now because on Saturday, a bunch of my friends got on the Carnival Mardi Gras and they started sailing for a week vacation as well as some learning on board. They were learning about the ship and the new design and the new Jubilee coming out. And I got some cruise blues. I wish I was on it, but I only have 2 more weeks and I'm on a cruise doing the Panama Canal. Looking so forward to that. What do I got in the news today? Well, I'm going to try and mix a little bit of good cruise news with some slightly bad cruise news. So it's going to be a mixed bag. So first off, let's start off with a couple of little stories that are kind of bad news, not horrible news, but bad news nonetheless. We'll start off with that redesign of Margaritaville. That's right. The little cruise company that could. It survived the pandemic. It got partnered with Margaritaville. They're redesigning the ship. A lot of people are kind of excited about it. It looks like a fun cruise to get away, like, let's party on the ship, folks. And if that's what you're into, that sounds like a ship to do it. However, it's not quite ready yet. It's going to be delayed another 2 weeks until May 14th. So it had to cancel a few of its sailings. A little bit of disappointment, but hey, like I always say, let's get the ship ready before we bring passengers on board, right? Let's make sure it's all running, and then we'll bring them on board so we get nothing but good word of mouth about especially a whole redesign of a whole cruise line. Let's see if that works, and I wish them all the best. I'm going to see if I can get on her sometime this year, but I'm pretty busy for the summer, so we'll see what happens in the fall. Now, another cruise line that's having a little bit of issues right now, more serious problems, is P&O Cruise Lines. They had to cancel 7 sailings on the Arcadia, and it had been sailing for a few weeks, but the company is kind of having their issues in the UK with what we had here in North America when the Omicron hit. Remember, all of a sudden some of the cruise lines had to start putting crew members on other ships and to keep some of the ships going and had to cancel some sailings. That's what's happening right now with P&O. They are running into staffing issues on board where they're taking crew members off to make sure there's no COVID on the ships and things like that. So they decided, let's stop that sailing on that one ship and spread those crew members out to the rest of the fleet so we can keep giving the service to our passengers that they expect on board. We don't run out of crew members. Better to cancel one than have bad service on all. And I think, probably a smart idea. It's probably a very temporary. It did not last long here in the United States. It lasted like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden the staffing issues were gone. Once that initial quarantine space is over and it runs through that particular ship, it ends pretty quickly. Within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, everyone was back to work. So yeah, a little bit more serious issue, but I think they're doing the right thing by providing the best service they can for the majority of their sailings. Now, they also have some good news this week, but before I get there, let me just invite you to hit that subscribe button if you want to keep up to date with all the things going on in the cruising industry, from what ships are starting, what ships are delayed, new cruise ships coming online, cruise vlogs, group cruise, you name it, we'll cover it as long as it has something to do with cruising. And again, doesn't cost a single thing to just hit the subscribe button, and it really helps the channel out, and I would really appreciate your help. Sticking with some good news for P&O Cruise Lines and Australia. That's right, the ban on cruise ships for Australia is supposed to end this month on the 17th. They are no longer going to extend it. And on the 18th, we have P&O's Pacific Explorer, their flagship for Australia, arriving in Sydney Harbour. This is good news. It is going to mark, hey, cruise ships are back aloud in the water, everybody. Look, here we are. I am picturing a pretty big celebration in the port that day, and probably hundreds, if not thousands of people just lining the docks to watch that cruise ship arrive for the first time in 2 years in Australian waters. It's good news, but it's not meaning that cruise ships are starting right now. In fact, the first sailing with passengers of the Pacific Explorer is going to be May 31st. So another 6 weeks or so after it actually arrives, and it'll start some 4-day sailings. As we expected, it's going to take some time for the cruise ships to get up and running, provision, get their contracts signed, get people on board. We heard P&O was already having problems with one of their ships for having to stop it so they can send crew members to other places to keep staffing levels high enough for their passengers. But this is a very momentous day for Australia. If you're a cruiser, if you're in the cruising industry, if you're in the tourism industry whatsoever, for the economy in Australia and the cruise ships at large. Great news, the 18th. Kind of wish I could be there to watch the first ship arrive. I'm sure there'll be lots of people just lining the docks. And then, of course, here in Canada, sparking the return of cruise ships, we had the Holland America MS Koningsdam, and she arrived in Victoria and Vancouver, and people were celebrating that this ship is finally back. An area in BC called Gastown really relies on tourism for their business and their industry, and the cruises and the cruise ships are a big, big part of that. And they were overjoyed that we finally got a ship back in Canada. There was a big talk on the docks with with a bunch of representatives. Cruising's back, baby, in Canada, etc. And we can only hope there's more and more and more cruises. Alaska season's just getting ready to kick off. I'm sure they're excited to see the cruise ships coming back this year en masse, shall we say. Not just a sprinkling for part of a season. This will be the first full season of Alaska. There's still some issues up there with border restrictions and stuff like that, crossing the borders. Most of that has been worked out except for a few bugs. But the good news is Alaska will be up and running, Canada up and running, Australia's getting ready to up and running. It's all good news. It's all good news that way. A few hiccups with some still COVID. It's still been 2 years and COVID's still reeling its ugly head on cruise ships. And when people say, they keep asking me, when is testing going to end? When is testing going to end? I don't think it's going to end until you see places like what happened with P&O. I don't think you're going to see testing end anytime soon while that's still going on. But yeah, it's still pretty good news. Maybe by the summer, end of the summer, we'll start seeing that protocol disappear. And we don't even have to talk about getting tested or protocols or quarantines. All we talk about is how much fun we're going to have on our next cruise. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Till next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.